So if you've checked out some of our recent videos about feedback, you know we've talked a lot about what I'll call the outside game of giving feedback. What do we say? How often do we say it? How are we talking to our teams? But I want to make sure that you understand as a leader that there is just as much of an inside game when it comes to giving feedback as there is an outside game. And what I mean by that is when we talk to folks in the C-suite all the way down to brand new leaders, and we talk to them about why aren't you giving feedback, what feels tough about having these conversations, it is always this sort of uncomfortable feeling that comes up for us as human beings when we think about moving into potentially difficult or conflict-ridden conversations with other people. So that inside game is often what keeps us shying away from feedback conversations. So the first thing I'll tell you is to reframe the way you're thinking about feedback. Oftentimes, leaders will tell us, feedback is something I feel like I'm doing to someone. I'm going to upset them. I'm going to ruin their day. I'm going to make them feel like a failure. That's all this framework of feedback as me doing something mean to you. And that really confuses the idea of feedback with punishment, right? With scolding, with discipline, with being sent to the principal's office, all of those feelings that we all carry with us often from our childhoods. But the real purpose of feedback is to help employees do a better job. So as a leader, the first thing you can do to get more comfortable with feedback is to reframe this as you helping your employees, helping your team do a better job. If you go into your own preparation, when you're thinking through the feedback conversation with that framework in mind, when you go into the conversation itself with that framework in mind, that's going to let you feel a little bit more comfortable with the situation as a whole. The other thing I will tell you is that most people feel uncomfortable with giving feedback. When we sit at our desk and we think about walking down the hall and telling so-and-so that they need to do a better job, that's an uncomfortable feeling for many of us. In fact, research will tell you that about 70% of people feel uncomfortable in those conversations. But it's just like anything else that feels uncomfortable. The more you practice it, the more you do it, the more comfortable you're going to get. And the more you're going to start to recognize those feelings as just part of the process. Know that you're not alone. Practice to get yourself more comfortable and engage in that ongoing feedback that we talked about in the last video, positive, negative, constructive. Talk to your team, talk to the people that you work with on a regular basis about how they're doing. The other thing I would tell you is to remember that people want feedback. We feel uncomfortable with these conversations as leaders. They feel difficult to us. But on the other end of the equation is an employee who wants to hear how they're doing. 65% of employees who are polled say they want more feedback than they're currently receiving at work. They want more. Most of the people who work for you want to hear from you more often. So again, reframing from this is something I do to employees to this is something I do for employees and something they want more of from me helps tamp down that feeling of being nervous or uncomfortable for you as a leader. And it's also going to result in real benefits for your team, increased job satisfaction, increased engagement, better performance. All of these are benefits of feedback that often get missed when we sort of equate it with punishment or discipline. So if you are thinking about giving feedback to your team, I would encourage you to think about it as helping and maybe to move into one of those difficult conversations sometime in the next week or two.